Hi, everybody. Sorry about the delay. We just want to rest a minute. Okay, everybody, I don't think I need this glass. Maybe the Imam. First of all, thank you everybody for being here and for having the patience. Those who came really on time, okay? And I was watching the video of the place as it filled up. Let me just, before we get to our very exciting evening, an experience that you probably never had before. You shall see. But before we get to that, let me just mention to you that I think we all are aware of what is happening out there in the world. That the rates of anti-Semitism have exploded like never before. You know, anti-Semitism is something that's always been there and will always be there until, you know, Mashiach, until the Messiah, until that point. We're going to have challenges. That's part of life. We can deal with that. But we have never had a situation like we have today, with the rates of anti-Semitism literally recorded in numbers higher than ever since the time they started doing the numbers. We have situations that we never had before. Jews being murdered as Jews. We have assaults upon Jews. Jews being attacked because they are Jewish on a regular basis. You know, just about a week ago it was, and I'm sure everybody saw this. You saw a gentleman, a young Hasidic man walking on the street in Williamsburg, and a young black youngster who turns out to be 16 years old walks behind this individual who's just walking on the street. And by the way, it's during the day. People are walking in the community. No shame, no concern. This individual comes up behind this person and just smacks the person in the head. His hat falls off, his yarmulke falls off. When I saw that picture, that scene, that moment, it reminded me of the kind of things I've seen that I saw in Nazi Germany. You know, an attack upon a Jew because they're a Jew. This person has now turned himself in. And what I would like to know in a situation like this, you know, where did this hate come from? Where did this hate come from against our people who just really go about life wanting to live, nothing else? Where's it coming from? So we have a situation where you have anti-Semitism coming from the right, from white supremacists. Those are the ones responsible for the shootings, the murder of 11 people, was it, in Pittsburgh, and the attack near San Diego. People who like only certain white people. How many other people are lurking somewhere in America who are looking, God forbid, for another opportunity? I don't think anybody here can say it's over, it's finished, nothing to worry about. We can just go on. There is no concern. No one can say that anymore based on what has already happened. So you have this tremendous hate on the right, on the extreme right. Extremists. People who hate Jews, period. They hate Jews. I can't even figure out, what is it? What is it? What are we responsible for? What did I do? What did you do? Each and every one of you here. What are you guilty of? Except the fact that you are a Jew. And then you have tremendous problem that is only getting worse. You have anti-Semitism on the left. Progressives. Out of control. A situation like I've never seen before. It used to be when somebody was an anti-Semite, everyone would call out that person. And by the way, many times the anti-Semite would say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it, I was misunderstood, and so on and so forth. But now there's no shame. And the big problem is, ladies and gentlemen, is that good people, decent people, are not doing what they're supposed to do in terms of speaking out, in terms of ostracizing these anti-Semites. That is not happening. I mean, you have members of the United States Congress who have indulged in vile, vicious, malicious hate. The same kind of message. By the way, it's remarkable that with the things that Omar says, the Benjamins and dual loyalty. Let me tell you, one of her big fans, by the way, which is hilarious. One of her big fans is David Duke. David Duke applauds this person, this progressive on the extreme left. And the fact that the United States Congress, the House of Representatives, the Speaker, everybody knows the Speaker is the most powerful person. I was a member of the New York State Assembly. You don't play around with the Speaker. The Speaker has the power. The Speaker can take away your committees. The Speaker can take away your budget. The Speaker can take your office away and put you in the bathroom. That is the power of the Speaker. The Speaker controls everything. And when Omar did something that is literally unheard of, except going back to the period of the Holocaust, when remarks were made about Jews, when Jews were being murdered at the rate of 15,000 a day, every single day, were being murdered all over Europe. We had issues with many members of Congress here in the United States who had tremendous hate for the Jewish people. Hate for the Jewish people. And I'm just thinking in my head, the Jewish people, what do they want from us? We hardly register in terms of numbers, right? I pointed out last night in Woodmere with the Imam, back in 1938, the Jewish population of the world was 17 million, and there were approximately 2.3 billion people in the world. Today, there are 15 million Jews only, 15 million Jews, a population of 8 billion. We hardly register. And everyone is so preoccupied, so busy with the Jewish people, with undermining the people of Israel, undermining the state of Israel, this place that you go to a map of the Middle East, you have to look very carefully to find the state of Israel because it is so small. Geographically, it is very, very small, even with Judea and Samaria. It's so small. And this country is trying to survive. They just want to live. That's all. They're not looking to take anything from anybody. We are not interested in taking anything from anybody. And everybody's preoccupied with Israel. Hezbollah, 150,000 missiles they have aimed at Israel. You saw what happened with 650 just a few weeks ago. 150,000 missiles that can reach all the way to Tel Aviv. God forbid what can happen. And then you have at the other, in the south, you have Hamas. You saw what happened. You know what happens. You know what's going on. They both talk Hezbollah, Hamas. They have one thing in common: the destruction of the state of Israel. The murder of the Jewish people in the state of Israel, because God forbid, if they ever were successful, we know what would happen. And nobody gets it. They just don't get it, especially on the left, especially, no politics, especially the Democratic Party. Today is out of control. It's like they're jumping off a cliff. They're committing suicide. A week ago or so, when those missiles were falling at Israel, Israelis were being murdered. Again, Jews were being murdered because they're Jews. They just decided to send missiles into civilian areas. 650 missiles. Every one of them was meant to murder men, women, and children. Miraculously, they land in open fields. Miraculously, they are shut down before they cause destruction. But some do get through. But those that are perpetrating that have one goal: to murder Jews. As many as they can. They celebrate. I'm just watching on television, when Jews get murdered, you have kids walking around with, plates of, here's a sweet, please take a sweet, take a piece of cake. Did you ever hear such a thing? Did you ever witness such tremendous hate? And I don't know where that comes from. Such hate. You can hate somebody. You can hate your neighbor, but you're not going out to murder them. You may want to, but you're not going to. And last week, when all that was going on, in this wonderful country that we live in, really this great, great country, America, last week at that point, there were 22 candidates running for president of the United States. 22 individuals from different parts of the country, senators, mayors, you name it. 22. It is beyond belief. It's like a bad dream for me. 22 candidates who put out things on Twitter every 5 minutes. They put out on Twitter, literally when the missiles were falling, about Ramadan. Fantastic. They're always on Twitter to send their message out. That's how things are done today. Not one of them. This is remarkable. This is remarkable. Not one of those candidates, not even the senator from New York. You would think from New York, with over 1 million Jews, that senator would be a little sensitive. But by the way, you don't have to be a Jew to speak out. When missiles are falling on innocent people, on men, women, children, babies, not one spoke out. Is that remarkable? That has never happened before. Because everybody was looking at everybody else, and the progressives, they want to win the Democratic nomination, so they are appealing to a certain group. And to hell with the Jews. To hell with the state of Israel, with the people of Israel trying to live, to survive. That's the reality. So we have the right, we have the left, we have radical Islam, we have tremendous hate. So I just want to mention my philosophy all my life, not just the 36 years I was in the assembly, but you know this. I've spent all my life being involved. Nobody ever has to say thank you to me, because my mother went to Auschwitz in 1944. My grandmother went to the gas chamber. Nephews and nieces went straight to the gas chamber. My mother's sister went straight to the gas chamber. My mother, when she was on the line at Auschwitz, had a sister on that line. You know about the famous line, or the infamous line. Right, left. One of my mother's sisters said to my mother in Yiddish, "Bekenish lozen mami nein allein." We can't let mommy go alone. Their mother, elderly woman. We can't let mommy go alone. So that sister went with her mother, and you know where she went? Straight to the gas chamber. That's the reality. So we have to speak out. We have to stand up. We don't have to solve the problems of the world, but we have to be there. We have to do our part. Each and every person needs to be involved on some level. So a group of us, but it has grown tremendously just in the last 2 weeks. We've created an organization that's very, very simple. It is a tax-exempt organization called, very simply, AAA, Americans Against Anti-Semitism. You think I can get the candidates to agree and go along with this? They're going to have to check to see which one responds. But that's what it's called. And everyone here should be part of that. We've already developed an amazing group of people. We need to be involved. Before I introduce this amazing individual we have here, a man of courage, and believe me, there's not that much courage going around in the world that we live in. Very little, a lot of talk, a lot of everything in their, your kitchen, your bedroom, your in shul, in your church, in your mosque, but very few people have courage to do what their heart tells them, to go out and put themselves in the front lines. We have such a man here tonight. But I want to share one thing which I have an obligation to do. I just realized it right before I came here. 15 years ago, this synagogue, the Avenue N Jewish Center, hosted a gentleman. It was a very sad thing. It was very sad. It was hard not to cry. The shul was packed upstairs. People were in the hallways going all the way down. We had a gentleman by the name of David Chatuel. David Chatuel came to our synagogue. David Chatuel was the husband of Tali Chatuel, who left from Gush Katif to go to Ashkelon to meet her husband. They had 4 little children in the car with Tali. She came to the Kesufim crossing, a crossing that I am very familiar with because I spent a lot of time in Gush Katif. And they were attacked by 2 terrorists who machine gunned the car and then walked to the car. This is described in detail. They walked to the car and they shot each of the children between the ages of 2 and 6, shot each of the children in the head. And David Chatuel came to us. This broken man, who didn't look broken, by the way, such faith this individual had. And I remember with my good friend Wolf Sender, who's here, we paid a Shiva call to him in Israel. I'll never forget that. And it is exactly 15 years ago that it happened. It's the anniversary. It's the yard site. Right now. Losing a wife who was pregnant and 4 little children. And David Chatuel said, you got to hear this. David Chatuel said, by the way, he's married now with 5 children. Is that the Jewish people? Is that the answer? Married with 5 children. This is what he said. My new home is an addition and not a replacement of the home that was destroyed. Referring to his wife and to his children, he said his words, my wife and children live inside me. I'm like a tree whose branches were cut off, and now they are growing again. David Chatuel, a hero of the Jewish people. Hate. Hate. If you hate somebody and you believe that they are evil and terrible things are said about certain people, other people are capable of doing horrible things. And today I have the honor, the pleasure, the honor. We've spent time together now. We had an amazing event in Woodman, New York that everyone was mesmerized. It was amazing. A person with courage. A person who is sincere. He's a Muslim cleric. He's an Imam. He has studied, for years and years and years, like we would say. He went to Beis Medrash. He studied for Smicha. all the different levels. With people in Iran, in Iraq. And the Imam will tell you at one time, what he learned every single day was to hate the Jewish people. That's what he learned. He was one of those guys who hated Jews because this was how they were brought up, to hate. The things that he stands for. The things that he believes. He's a Muslim. He's an Imam. He preaches to Muslims. But he's a man who has studied deeply, and there are certain truths. They're not his truths. They're the truths from the Quran, from the things that he has learned, and he speaks it clearly to anyone who wants to listen. And people are listening all over the world, and it will only grow. Because if we have Imam Tahiti, and we need more people to follow his ways, we may be able in some way to change the world. But you know what? Even if we can't, Imam Tahiti, us spending the last 2 days together, he has given me hope. You have revived my faith that there are good people everywhere, and most people are good. He's a hero. He's my brother. He's my brother, okay? I have listened to him. I just read his book over the last Shabbos, just so I would become more familiar. He is a super special individual that God has put into this world. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to you, and you will be able to ask any questions you have. Anything. And he will answer them. I give you a hero. I give you a man of truth, and I give you a man of God. Imam Tahiti.
Brother Dov, thank you very much for the introduction. I am absolutely honored to be here in Brooklyn, and even more honored to be in a house of God, speaking to my brothers and sisters in humanity. I say shalom. Thank you very much for having me, for accepting me. That means a lot. And it's moving, and it also sends a message to my co-religionists that not all Jews, as we were taught from a very young age, all, not just the ones in Israel, all Jews want you dead, and that is absolutely false. This here is a living reality that peace can be established. And I come in here with this spirit, with this thought. And before I move any further with my talk, I would like to does that make a difference? Should I hold it? I'd like to thank the Muslim brothers, the Muslim individuals that have joined us today. On behalf of myself, the Muslims that work with me, and our Jewish community here, Ramadan Kareem, may God accept your fast and accept ours as well. I would like to use this very valuable time that I have to address as many important issues as I possibly can. And with that in mind, I'm going to divide my talk into 3 parts. The first part, I would like to address the important theological issues that are influencing the lives of both Muslims and Jews today, and also commenting on them with some solutions. Secondly, I would like to address the issue of Israel, a Jewish state existing amongst people or nations that wish to either annihilate it, wish to isolate it from the rest of the world. And thirdly, I would like to bring the conversation to what is happening in the United States of America, and in specific, the US Congress. I am a cleric. I was trained in Iran, and I trained students in Iran. I then traveled to Iraq, and my story in detail, I have written a very painful, lonely journey of writing my story from being a fundamentalist, Islamist extremist, sent to Canada to preach for the revolution, and then leaving them and moving to Iraq, believing it's going to be a much more open society where you can study whatever book you like, and then boom, 2014, ISIS comes in, members of my family get killed, and I have to return back to Australia. I've written all of that in my book if you would like to find out the very details that changed me as a person. However, with everything I have been through and the sacrifices that I have made, I remain a cleric that knows the books, that knows the Quran inside out, that knows how the Muslim mindset functions, that knows how it can be shaped and redirected, that knows how it can be brainwashed and how we can undo that. There are certain comments I would like to make about the theology that drives the narrative against Israel and against a Jewish state, or the existence of Jewish states, plural, or what our future might have for the coming generations. We have in our books writings by men. And when I say men, I don't mean prophets, and I don't mean anybody related to a prophet. I say men, a man sitting in India, a man sitting in Malaysia, someone in Egypt, someone in Iran, in Saudi Arabia, in Khorasan, wherever, regular men, after the demise of the Prophet Muhammad up until today, who have a good talent of writing. And they exercise what I like to refer to as the politics of the pen. They're good writers. And most clerics, and if rabbis hear this, they'll know what I mean, writing is a good way of earning an income. Clerics can't go out in many societies and work because of their profession. So what do? They refer to other means, such as working in a mosque or writing for a particular research organization. There are other things clerics do. When it comes to the issue of clerics writing, they publish a book, they become famous, they get invited, they make money, and they publish another book, and another book, and they get carried away. We have today, when I say they get carried away, we have today the most sacred book after the Quran, 6 volumes, written by a man who was Persian, where I was born, didn't speak Arabic, never saw the Prophet Muhammad, never saw those who saw Muhammad, came 2 centuries after Muhammad, blind, 6 volumes, and in those volumes he details what happens in the bedroom of the Prophet. So to me, I have a question. Not how did he know? The question is, why? I know he wasn't there. I know nobody reported to him. I know it is impossible that he would have this. But he wrote about it. Volumes. This is just an example. When I say get carried away, if people are prepared to write such texts about their own prophet, and then it becomes sacred, how do you think they will write about other people? I just want to give you an idea of the mentality that we have. And we read certain texts that the Jews are the descendants of pigs and monkeys, and this is why they don't eat pork. But we Muslims also don't eat pork. But we're not the descendants of pigs or monkeys, because God is on our side. These traps that they create for themselves and they fall into. I like to come and all I do is I show my people. Why? That's all I'm saying. Why? Why is it that a Muslim today, and this I'm saying not because I'm attacking, I am concerned about my community. Every community wishes to have congregations that go out and study and become engineers and doctors and win Nobel Prizes. Every community wants that. I don't want my community to be seen as a backward-minded community. We have our greatest intellectuals. They will sit in front of someone who believes in Darwinism and will debate them, debate the theory of evolution. It is impossible that we and apes have a common ancestor, but will fight and insist that the Jews come from pigs. How? We are talking about intellectual titans in the Muslim world. And whenever you speak to a Muslim and you tell them you have texts that harm other people and you know they're not right because there's contradictions left, right, and center, they say yes, but there are other good scholars you should listen to. Muslims, we have astronomers, we have mathematicians, we have physicians. Why don't you listen to them? I say yes. But I have a question. What did you do to them? These astronomers, Avicenna, Ibn Hayyan, Ibn al-Haythami, Al-Jahab, these thinkers within the Muslim world that dared to think outside the box. What did you do to them? You butchered them, you killed them, you made them live in exile, and when you want to rewrite history, it's all a lie. Or how did Al-Jahab was the man who introduced the theory of evolution, who Darwin was influenced by. I'm not saying what he did was right or I agree with it. I'm just saying people like to think differently. What did you do to them? Or the library fell on him. And we're supposed to believe the library fell on him. So whenever someone thinks differently, they get attacked. What is the solution for this? The solution is very simple. If you stop speaking, if you stop saying that, look, the Jews are not descendants of pigs, they are not the killers and murderers of prophets. We have traditions, scriptures in our books that say the Jews, قتلت الأنبياء, they used to kill 60 prophets from sunrise to sunset. So I have a question. Why did God send 60 prophets at once? What are they doing? 60 prophets for what? And how come the Jewish area only gets 60 prophets? How come Mecca only gets one prophet at a time? Why 60 here? The answer, very logical. Because they are this misguided, God needs this many prophets. And you laugh at their logic. So when you tell them that this is wrong, there are clerics that say it's true, because for them they need to defend their scriptures. And I go by a very easy principle. and it's a saying that I live by. When the people of truth remain silent, the people of falsehood believe they are right. And this is why I believe the only solution to a corrupt ideology, to a corrupt book, is to write a book in response to it, is to speak out. This is the only solution. Then again, what is their solution for people like us? Murder, death threats, character assassination, and so on and so forth. But if we want to achieve peace at the end, our means need to be peaceful, which is why I continue to speak out. The solution to corrupt teachings is to speak out and make sure that you have the right platform. Many people follow me on social media, they don't know my story. I had to go and get a course as to how to use Twitter, how to use Facebook. Now I can get my message across. Every tweet that gets retweeted 10,000 times, 20,000 times, has more of an impact than a book published and read 500 times. This is why we need to speak out. Now onto the issue of Israel, so I can get more specific. This area, they're fighting over this area. Who? Some Muslims, not all Muslims. Not all Muslims fight over Jerusalem. And this is a fact. And I will tell you why it's a fact. It's a fact because it's a Sunni claim. Shia Muslims have nothing to do with Jerusalem. Our holy sites are in Karbala and Najaf and Iraq and Iran. And our common holy site with the Sunni Muslims is in Mecca and Medina. Nothing ties me as a Shia Muslim to Jerusalem. Nothing. It's not even sacred to me. So why is Iran and Hezbollah fighting for it? Because of politics. That's it. Politics. And this is not political Islam. This is a disease. This here is a very dangerous disease. And it's a disease many people can't identify, can't define. Let me tell you what this disease is. The disease is if a mufti sitting in Mecca says kill the Jews, a Muslim sitting in Australia would attack a synagogue. Islam is the only religion, and this is our problem, a problem we need to own. The only religion that its adherents believe in a one nation. One nation. Whatever happens in Syria, I need to take revenge for in New York. No other religion has this problem. No other religion. Maybe individuals, but no agenda. So a Russian ambassador gets killed by a Turkish security guard in Turkey because Russia is good with Syria, with the Syrian government, and the security guard is against the government in Russia. Which means the people talking about dual loyalty, they're the biggest hypocrites. Because they consider themselves part of this nation. That I am concerned with Palestine. I'm a member for Palestine, I'm a member for Saudi Arabia, I'm a member for Qatar and the US Congress. This is a disaster. So number one, not all Muslims are fighting for Palestine. And number two, the Muslims who are fighting for Palestine are absolutely confused. They're confused. I used to fight for Palestine. My retweets used to reach 5,000 in 2006 when the conflict happened. I still have screenshots. There are videos of me bashing the Jews, blaming them for everything. They're confused, like I was confused. You know why? Okay, I have a question. What's the claim that we have for Jerusalem? I, as a Muslim, want Jerusalem from my Jewish brother. And he's prepared to give me Jerusalem if I can find the verse from my book, not the Torah, not the Talmud, from my book. So I give him a verse which makes no sense. Chapter 17, verse number 1. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhana alladhi asra bi'abdihi laylan min al-masjid al-haram ila al-masjid al-aqsa. Praise be to the Lord who sent his messenger Muhammad from Mecca to Masjid al-Aqsa, the Aqsa Mosque, at night, in a night journey. Okay, that's very beautiful. Where does it say he was sent to Jerusalem? Question, I raise a question. That's all I'm saying. I'm not denying. I'm saying, where does it say? Why do I have a legitimate question? Because the name of the mosque, the farthest mosque, the far mosque, has made another group of Muslims divided on whether this mosque, the far mosque, is on planet Earth or whether it's far in the heavens. So my brothers in faith are fighting for something that could not even be on planet Earth. All they had to do was read their own book, my book. That's all they had to do. Then we have another claim that this is Bayt al-Maqdis. Bayt al-Maqdis is sacred for the Muslims. And I say, beautiful, sacred. What is Bayt al-Maqdis? They don't know. They don't know what Bayt al-Maqdis is. This is Hamas. Hamas, what is Bayt al-Maqdis? It's Bayt al-Maqdis. Is it maybe Bayt al-Mikdash? That you translated and hijacked? Look, I don't mind Muslims being attached to Jerusalem. I don't mind Muslims visiting Jerusalem. In fact, I want them to live there in peace with everybody else. But if your ancestors were Christians, if your ancestors were Jews, and you converted into Islam, not in the time of the Prophet Muhammad, not in the time of the first Caliph, in the time of the second Caliph, 632 to 644 in the 7th century. 632 was the demise of the Prophet.
Abu Bakr died in 634, so Umar came to Jerusalem 6 years later.
Thank you very much. The Prophet died, passing away in 632. Caliph Umar, who placed Abu Bakr as the Caliph and was alongside him the entire time, which makes his political capacity and influence part of the caliphate of the Prophet Muhammad. This entire time, we never had one visit to Jerusalem by either the Prophet or anybody from his family. We never had it. So what is the evidence that we are tied to that region? I want them to live in peace. But if you have converted to Islam because of the conquests that didn't even begin during the time of Caliph Abu Bakr, it began during the time of Khalifa Umar. So then you change your own religion. You didn't change the identity of the land. This is the argument I make. You did not change the identity of the land. And you cannot hijack it. You convert. But why take the land with you? You can't do that. Now on to the impact this discussion has had on our politics. We have in the Muslim community a very interesting way of showing loyalty to religion. Very interesting way. We attack the enemies of religion. And these enemies of religion are not enemies because God said they are enemies. They're enemies because the Imam said they were enemies. Because someone wrote a book and said they were the enemies. That's basically it. Do I deny that Prophet Muhammad had conflict with the Jewish people? I'd be foolish to deny it. But again, The answer always comes when you ask the question, did he wage war against Judaism, or was it a tribal war? The Quran mentions tribes. Khaybar, a tribe that had a problem with the tribe of the Prophet. If I take a look at the Prophet himself, he married 9 wives. Why? Why would he need to marry 9 wives? Marry. You can be with them without marrying them. Why marry? Because the Arabian tribes wanted him dead, so he married from them